Well, today I'm introducing this, which is a capacitive soil moisture sensor. So there are other capacitive soil moisture sensors out there, and to understand why this one's different, you kind of have to understand how the other ones work. So here's how a regular old-fashioned capacitive soil moisture sensor works. You can probably make out there's a really big pad right here in the middle, and that forms one plate of a capacitor, and the soil forms the other plate. And the way this thing works is the soil moisture will change the capacitance of that capacitor. Now, the other really functional big part is a little 555 timer, and that's set to generate a fixed frequency output, and that essentially is going to charge this capacitor up. Then it gets converted into a voltage level output. And the level of that voltage will be dependent on the capacitor, and that means it will be dependent on the moisture in the soil. Now they work pretty well. I've actually got a couple of them in my yard, but there are some trade-offs with that type of design. So that voltage level output, that requires an ADC read to be converted into data that your MCU can use. And I tend to use a lot of ESP32s, and they don't have the best ADCs. Their ADCs are kind of non-linear, and they sometimes have some problems with higher voltage levels. And so I would like to get away from having to do ADC conversions, but that's the way these work, so what do you do? So my capacitive soil moisture sensor does not generate a voltage output like that. So here is my design, and the capacitive part really pretty much works the same. You've got a big trace down here that forms one plate of capacitor, and the other plate is basically the soil, and thus the moisture in the soil will change the capacitance of that big capacitor. So on this, you can see there's hardly any components. As a matter of fact, a couple of them are mostly just there for like power and buffering and so on. There's really only like two critical components. One is a resistor, and the other is this little multi-pin chip, and that is an inverting Schmitt trigger. So you've got the output that is always trying to be opposite of the input, and the capacitor, this plate of the capacitor, is tied to the input. So the state of charge in this capacitor will drive the input pin, and the output will always be opposite, which means if the capacitor is in a low state, the output pin will be in a high state, which means it will be feeding back through that resistor into the capacitor and charging it up. Well, as the capacitor charges up, eventually the voltage on the input pin goes above the trigger level on the Schmitt trigger, and the output will fall too low, which means the capacitor, which is in a high state of charge, will start discharging back through and discharge itself. Once the voltage drops, all of a sudden the output goes back high. And so on the output, you connect the sense pin, the output will just be a digital high-low signal. As there's more moisture in the soil, the capacitor will have a higher value, and the frequency of that digital output will drop. So that's how this thing takes soil moisture and converts it into data. The soil moisture changes the capacitance, that changes the frequency of a digital output. No ADC read required. All that you have to do is just measure the sense pin and calculate the frequency at which that digital signal is oscillating, and that's it. And it turns out MCUs are really good at that. A lot of ESP32s actually have dedicated pulse counter hardware on them. So if you're using a regular ESP32 or an ESP32S3, those will actually have dedicated hardware to do this. If you're using a single core like an ESP32C3, they don't have designated pulse counter hardware, but it turns out it's not really that big a deal. All that you have to make sure is just that your frequency doesn't go too high, or else it won't be able to track it. But this thing oscillates around 10 kilohertz by default. You can tweak it a little bit to get it up to about 20 kilohertz at the highest, but none of that's going to be a problem. ESP32C3s can do this in software without really causing any issues with the rest of the system. Okay, so let's give you a little demo, and the first thing I will show you is how one of these generic capacitive sensors works. And so I've got it hooked up, and you can see the output here, and it's reading about 2.73 volts. Now I've got some dry soil here in a cup, and if I put it in there, you will see that not much changes because, well, there's not any moisture to affect the capacitance of that sensor. Now, I also have some damp soil here, and so if we insert this into some damp soil, you'll start to see that thing move. Now, let me get her good and in there. You'll see as I insert it, the capacitance is going up, and you see voltage dropping a little bit. It's kind of hard to shove it into this soil in this cup, but there you go. I've got it in there a bit, and now it's reading about 2.122 volts. So we've dropped the voltage by a little over a half a volt. Now, let's disconnect this thing. All right, so now I have one of the frequency-based soil moisture sensors hooked in, and let me turn it on. And now you see the output signal. You can see it is just a square wave frequency output. Now, if I get my hand close to this thing, you can see what happens, right? The frequency will change. So let me add a little frequency counter down here to the bottom. And so right now you can see if this shows up in the video, I don't know, but it's about 10.25 kilohertz. So a little over 10,000 hertz in frequency. And if I put my hand around it, it will change. Now it's dropped down to under 4. And so if I put this thing into dry soil now, you can see in dry soil, I'm around 9.7 kilohertz. So again, not that big of a difference between open air and dry soil. By the way, I've already got this thing conformally coated. You can kind of see how shiny this thing is. And right there, you can see a little bit of run. This has already been sprayed with urethane because I do intend to use this thing in a little sensor soon. And so in the damp soil, we are down to 7.4 kilohertz. And so if I even hold my hand next to this thing, you can see how it changes the capacitance. And so this tends to be, in my kind of testing, a much more sensitive system with a much bigger range of measurement. So let's look at what happens if I just add a bit of water here. And you can see how kind of immediately this thing reacts. And it's already down another 300 or 400 hertz. So it does pick up and change quite a bit with just a little bit of moisture. And in my testing, super damp soil can get down to as low as like 1 kilohertz output. And so you get a much broader range of readings when using this sensor. Plus, you don't have to depend on any sort of ADC conversion. The signal will always go from 0 to 3.3 volts. As you can see, I've got this set to 1 volt divisions, and you go 1, 2, 3, and a little bit more. That high signal is at 3.3 volts. Well, I figured there's no real reason for me to be so stingy. I can show you what's going on with this Schmitt trigger so that you can maybe get a sense of how this thing works. So I've got 2 traces here. The purple trace is hooked to the capacitor side, or the input side, to that Schmitt trigger. And then you can see the yellow trace, that square wave output. And so basically this is what's happening. It is, again, an inverting Schmitt trigger. And so when the capacitor goes low, it crosses a certain point, and then all of a sudden the output says, oh, you're at a low state, I need to go high. And so it goes high, and that starts recharging that capacitor. Well, once it reaches a certain high enough state, the Schmitt trigger says, oh, the input's high, I need to go low. And when it goes low, it starts discharging that capacitor. Once again, when it gets to a certain point, it's like, oh, you're low, I need to go high. And so that's how it creates that oscillation. Now, whenever I just move my hands close to this thing, you can see the frequency change because it's sensitive to water and things like that that change the capacitance of that system. And so you can see the frequency adjust. It gets kind of noisy because I'm not being still, but you can see what happens, right? It's going to adjust to the different capacitance in that system, and then that widens these pulses, which is equivalent to lowering the frequency when the capacitance goes up. By the way, I'm going to discuss it just because I know you people, and somebody's going to say something like, hey, you got some ringing up here, and you're right, there is a bit of ringing on that thing. Don't worry about it, all right? It's not a big deal. We aren't switching power MOSFETs. We aren't doing any kind of digital data transfer. We just need the frequency, and that little bit of ripple ain't gonna cause no problems at all. Yeah, we could add some components and try to tune that out, but I mean, why? It's just not gonna make any difference. By the way, for anybody that wants to use these also, I'll have a 3D print model that you can download. It's not much, it's just a little canister design basically with a thread-on lid, and it's already got the little hole cut out so that these sensors will slide right in. And basically the way I tend to use these things, There's enough room in here for a battery and something like a C-Jow or something. And then you can just take this sensor, shove it right through the bottom, and then you can epoxy or maybe seal this thing with some silicone or something like that. I tend to use epoxy because it bonds a little bit better to the 3D print and the PCB. But yeah, you just do that, and then you'll have your little system pretty sealed off from the weather, and then you can just take this thing and stick it to the ground, and they don't look terrible. So I'll post up a link for the model for the CAD file for that. I'll also have a little CAD file for the PCB itself, just so you'll know the dimensions. And again, if you want to make your own little 3D print or something, you'll have access to the CAD model for this so that you can use it. Now, I am selling these on my Etsy store, and so I'll put a link down in the description to that. I'll also put a little YAML down there so that you can see how they're used in like an ESPHome, but there's really not much to it. You just count the frequency and then you calibrate that to your soil at dry states and wet states, and that's really all there is to it. The price is not too bad, I think. I'm gonna be charging $15 for 3 of these with an extra $5 for shipping, so that's basically $20, and I'll give you 3 of these PCBs. And I feel like that's pretty fair. Now, I've done some testing with this. They all seem to work fine, but it is kind of a beta because I don't know that anything else is out there that really does this. We could find some problems, but we'll have to see. Now, one thing I would point out is that these things get stuck in the ground, so it's probably smart to put some conformal coating on them, just mask off the connections if you haven't soldered it together yet. And I would tend to use something like a polyurethane or a spar urethane for that, because these are going to be shoved down in the soil. That's going to be abrasive with sand and rock particles and who knows what else. You could use acrylic, like a clear acrylic. That's what a lot of conformal coating is, but that's probably not going to be tough enough. You definitely want to pay attention to the sides and the tip, because that's where moisture can actually enter the PCB substrate, and then you can get some sensor drift over time because they'll basically hold a bunch of moisture in there that'll throw your readings off. So you really want to seal up those edges very good, and again, you probably want to seal the front and the back because that solder resist isn't perfectly impermissible. I actually use this Minwax spray polyurethane. I think it's going to work okay. Like I said, polyurethane's what I would pick, or a spar urethane, because it tends to be pretty tough and pretty durable. So that's it. Like I said, not much to it. I will put the links down in the description. If you got any questions, as always, feel free to leave them down below, and I appreciate your time.